Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the page. If you don't know what to do with the like button, you just got to smash it. Bing, 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 bing. Hey, look, Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. People, I'm gonna tell you right now, I think I was wrong. I think I took it to the stupid. Had a little bowl of dumbass for breakfast. You gotta excuse me. I said initially that I think Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis doesn't do more than 500,000 pay-per-view buys. And I felt we were being overly optimistic with the 500,000 pay-per-view buy figure, right? And I felt that way up until today. I was at the YMCA. I walked for an hour and a half, went, lifted weights, because I was 277, I'm 238 now. This is like in 3 months. And by 1 June, I want to be about 205. Not trying to get back in the ring, I'm 47, man, but just so you know, get my fat ass in shape. But nonetheless, while I'm there, got some young kids, right? And every now and then I mess with them, you know what I'm saying? They see me hitting the heavy bag and they're like, oh, damn, you box? I'm like, nah, I used to, but you know, I always tell them, you know, like those days are over. But I guess if you got a little bit of skill, you got a little bit of skill. But the young kids get on there. One guy's an MMA fighter. And while we were talking today, he was like, hey, are you watching that boxing match this weekend? And I said, what boxing match? Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia? And this kid was like, yeah. He was like, I only buy UFC matches, but I'm buying this one. And it's like a light bulb went off in my head. I asked him, I said, what make you want to, you UFC fight, all y'all young boys watch this UFC crap, you know? Which is good, I like UFC. I said, but what the hell make you want to come and watch Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis? He's like, man, those guys can fight. And I'm like, if you have a 19-year-old, right, running around in a YMCA talking with me about Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. Now, I don't want to insult the young man's intelligence because he's 19. He obviously knows something, right? That tells me that the older heads and UFC fans have taken an interest in this fight too. So, we had a bad weather last night out here, man. You know, trees and stuff, man. Getting the wind blowing and snapping them in half. Tree limbs flying all over the place. We live in a real nice, prestigious neighborhood, man. Some of these people out here kind of hoity-toity, trash cans and shit blowing down the street. Hilarious. But anyway, couldn't get on the internet earlier this morning because the internet was out. That's why I went to the YMCA. So I come back home, jump on the internet. I'm like, let's see what the hell's going on out here with this whole UFC fans and Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. Hey, let me tell y'all, almost, every UFC fan has an interest in Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. And you know what that means. When it comes to the UFC fans, and when we're talking about these UFC fans, right? And we're talking about how these guys will spend their money. Let's not get it twisted. The UFC fans can make a big difference with these pay-per-view numbers and can really result in a huge pay-per-view explosion if they commit like we know they do, faithfully, consistently, and blindly. And I think, with that being said, knowing that Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis have attracted the interest of these UFC fighters, right? These UFC fighters and the fans. I now believe that Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis are going to do huge numbers on pay-per-view. Now, I'm not going to sit here and take it to the stupid like Oscar De La Hoya and try to convince you all that Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis are going to do 2 million in pay-per-view buys. The days of 2 million pay-per-view buys are over. All right? So let's just forget about that because it's not going to happen. Now, what I will tell you is if you're enjoying the video, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, non-biased commentary. I don't get into that. We just stick to boxing around here. But what I will tell you is this. From the 500,000, extremely optimistic estimate that I predicted, right? Remember I made a joke about having a crystal ball. Knowing that these guys are pulling in the UFC fans, yeah, they may hit 1 million. They may actually hit 1 million in pay-per-view buys. They may hit it. And the only reason I'm saying that is because the UFC fans are showing an interest and saying they're going to watch it and they're going to pay the money. I didn't think this fight would cross over to the UFC world. Of course, you know, some UFC fans, like I'm a UFC fan, but I'm diehard boxing. But I'll watch a UFC fight depending on who's fighting. And some UFC fans, diehard UFC fans, but depending on who's fighting in boxing, they'll watch it, but they don't watch it all. But there's 1 or 2 names they can talk about. Like with the UFC, there's 1 or 2 names I can talk about. But I don't know all the names. Ask me about boxing, though. I can tell you about everybody. Amateurs, guys fighting over in Europe, in Asia, all 7 continents, man. I can tell you about it. So what that shows you is that certain fighters, no matter what combat sport they're in, they have a certain appeal. And Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis have that appeal. I'm not here to say that I think Tank is better than Ryan, Ryan's better than Tank. What I'm telling you is that Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis have a certain appeal. And that appeal has crossed over from Hollywood to Hollywood, Hollywood to Hollywood, boxing to the UFC. That being said, and for that reason, we may see a serious pay-per-view explosion when it comes to these guys. Now, people saying this before, they're just bandwagonists talking out their cocker holes, right? You can't come out here and make a statement about, oh, Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis should do at least 1 million. It's got to be rooted in some substance. When you make a statement like that, and you look at that Ryan Garcia he's never been on pay-per-view. Tank Davis, even what he's done at his best, I think was maybe cresting a little bit above 200,000, but consistently hitting around 100,000. Deontay Wilder and those guys. The only one out here that's really the pay-per-view champ is Canelo, right? Benavidez and Caleb Plant, we talked about that. Some cats ain't even hit 100,000 in pay-per-view buys. So you can't come out here and expect Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis without having doing your due diligence, doing your homework, and being able to justify making a statement that they're going to do 1 million. So I figured bringing the 2 of them together, their celebrities, their profiles, their supporters, and the fact that there's such big names, undefeated fighters, and they're must-see TV. That we figure if Tank was doing about 200,000 by himself, you bring 2 stars together, you probably get up double that. Get about 500,000 in pay-per-view buys, right? But now that we're looking at, okay, there's a whole other market that just got tapped into. The UFC market. I'm like, okay, the MMA fans, the UFC fans. So now I can make that statement rooted in substance that anyone out here, whether you're a boxing fan or not, you know when it comes to the MMA fans, the UFC fans, those guys pay their money. And they like a good scrap. They like a good tear up, a good brouhaha. And they're going to get it with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. That being said, I hope Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis do hit 1 million. I've always said it before, I hope they hit more than that. I just realistically, I didn't think it was possible. But they may get there if they're really pulling from the UFC market. That being said, y'all leave your comments below. Don't forget, man, to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. But make sure you subscribe so we can keep the party going. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents, in the breeze.